Hello. Hello everybody. Good evening. Welcome to class. I hope I'm audible to everybody. Hi Adikoya. You are a new student, I guess. But I'm seeing you in my class for the very first time, I guess. Have you attended previous sessions? Okay. All right. Good evening, Sandeep. Welcome to class. So today we are going to I'm good. Good. Thanks for asking, Adikoya. So it's weekend for you now. Okay. So today we are going to study about contract of agency. Okay, agency is a contract in which one person acts as a representative for the other party. Okay, and all the rules and regulations are similar. Just a second, just 1 minute. Good evening, Kelvin. Welcome to class. So, contract of agency is a legal contract. It is a contract in which there are two parties involved. One party is the agent. Agent is the one who acts on behalf of the other person, who acts as a representative of the other party. That person is the agent, and the other one is principal, the other party. The commanding party is known as the principal. Okay. So now we'll be talking about this only. So, who is an agent? There are two people involved in a contract of agency, agent and the principal. So, agent is the person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealings with third persons. Like we have insurance agents. We have loan recovery agents. This is a new concept. Loan recovery agents. You know about them? You know what does that mean? Loan recovery agents? Okay. They are actually people who are hired by the bank to recover loans from the people. And you know, they are not normal people. They are influential people. What we call as Don and all. Okay. They are of that category. Their work is to get people to pay the loans of the bank. So we have insurance agents, we have these agents, we have credit card agents of the bank. So they are all agents, and they all are actually representing their company, their party, the other party. Okay. So the person for whom such acts are done or who is represented is called the principal. So the party, the commanding party for whom the other party is working is called the principal. Okay. And a contract which creates such type of a relationship of the principal and agent is called an agency. It's called a contract of agency. All right. So any thought that is coming to your mind? excuse me, on this relationship between agent and principal. Anything which is coming to your mind? Good evening, Prabha. Welcome to class. Thank you, Aditya, for that. So, what do you think? Is agent like a subordinate to the principal? Is he like the servant of the principal? Do you think that agent is the servant for the principal? Hello? Yes? Hello? Yeah, I'm waiting for the answer. So do you think that this agent is like the servant for the principal? No, it is not so. He is not the servant. So he is just a representative of the principal. Okay, so he has got some legal rights. He can create contracts with other parties in the name of the principal. All these rights are denied to a servant. So he is not the servant to the principal. Now let's get forward. So what are the legal rules for creating a contract of agency? The first is that there should be an agreement between the principal and the agent, and the agreement may be expressed or implied. Prabha, this is the class of business law, and today we are discussing about the contract of agency contracts. Okay, we have just started. 1 or 2 slides have been just discussed. So now this is important. Then there should be an agreement between the principal and the agent, and that agreement may be express or implied. Now what is the difference between these two words, express contract and implied contract? Can you just tell me? What is express contract and what is implied contract? Okay, written. Prabha, what can you just clarify that point? What is the meaning of that, written? It has terms and conditions. Okay. Actually, express contract is the one which is verbally. Yes, yes, Kelvin, that's very correct. It is written, it is expressed, it is verbally discussed, and then it is entered into. That is an express contract. An implied contract is when it is taken for granted. Yes, this person is going to do this because he is implied by the relationship which we hold. Okay. Yes, express contract is the one where all the elements of contracts are stated. All the clauses are clearly mentioned. In implied, no such thing is there. No verbal like negotiations are there. It is just because of the circumstances or the relationship between the two parties that we say they are in a contract. Okay. So the next is the agent must act in a representative capacity, that is discussed. The principal must be competent to contract. The principal must be competent to contract. Now what are the essentials for a person to enter into a contract? What are the essential qualifications for a person to make a contract? Yes, Prabha. So I was just telling about this one. The person who is saying the principal must be competent to contract. So a person competent to contract is the one who is allowed by the law to enter into any legal agreement. Now, who is allowed by law to enter into agreement? Firstly, the person should be 18 years of age or above. He should be more than 18 years of age. And the second thing is he should be of sound mind. Okay, he should be of sound mind. He should be mentally stable. He shouldn't be unstable. So these are the two essential qualifications which are laid by the law for a person to enter into a contract. So you must keep these things in mind. So the principal must hold these essential qualifications. He should be a major. Major means 18 years or above of age, and he should be of sound mind. Yes, he should be eligible to take decisions. Then the agent need not be competent to contract. But why? But in the interest of the principal. Yes, he need not be competent to contract. Like suppose in banks we see even boys of very young age, boys and girls of very young age, those less than 18 years of age entering into, like, they become the agents of the bank. So they are the agents and the bank is the principal. So is that a valid contract? Yes, that is a valid contract, because agent is not necessarily, an agent shouldn't be necessarily 18 years of above or above of age. He can be less than that. But the important thing is he should be able to take wise decisions. He should take rational decisions, and his decisions should be in the interest of the principal. So one who is of unsound mind cannot be an agent, but one who is less than 18 years of age can be an agent. Okay? Then there should be a consideration for a contract. And that is there. There cannot be a contract without any consideration. That is not legal. Now, what are the general rules of agency? What are the general rules of such a contract? The first is, whatever a person can lawfully do himself, he may also do the same through an agent. So, he who acts through another does by himself. Means, whatever he can do on his own, he is assigning authority to another person to do that task. So, this is the reason why contract of agency exists. Otherwise, there cannot be a contract. Like there is a distributor and there is a manufacturer. The manufacturer appoints an agent, appoints an agency. Agency will be the, like suppose there is a toffee manufacturer, one who is into the manufacturing of toffee. He has a factory. Then he is appointing an agent for the sale of that toffee. So he is appointing a distributor. So the relationship between this factory owner or the manufacturer and the distributor of the toffee is that of agency. Okay. He can himself also sell those toffees, but since he is like Prabha, you are having voice problem? Is it so? Anyone else having that problem? No, Sandeep? Okay. Adikoya, Nixon, Ajit, Kelvin. Is my voice reaching you properly? Kazi, Nived. Prabha, is that fine now? What is Prabha saying? Problem with? Okay. So Prabha, if it's properly, if it's audible, then it's fine. Otherwise, you can just relog. All right. Alright. So now let's see the difference between an agent and a servant. What is the difference between the two? Okay. So we'll go to see that. Let's first see who may employ an agent. A person who is of the age of majority according to the law to which he is subject and who is of sound mind may employ an agent. So these are two essential things. He should be of sound mind and he should be 18 years or above of age. Hello Sunil, welcome to class. So now who may be an agent? As between the principal and the third person, any person may be an agent. But he should be of sound mind. That is important. That is reasonably expected. But like in case the other party is able to prove that a person is of sound mind, although the person is not of sound mind, then we will hold it to be a contract of agency. We will have to accept it as that. Okay. Now, what is the difference between an agent and a servant? Agent is the one who has the authority to create commercial relationships between the principal and the third party. Like suppose one is the distributor of Coca-Cola. So he is selling that Coca-Cola to the biggest wholesaler of the city. So he is a link between the manufacturer, that is the principal for him, and the third party, the wholesaler to whom he is dealing. So he is the connecting link between the two. Then servant has no such authority. He may work for several principal at a time. Yes, agent is, it's not so that if a person is working with one principal, he cannot work with another. He is free. Servant normally works for one master at a time. Then he gets commission, he gets salary or wages. This is the difference of remuneration. What he gets is known as the commission on sales. Like sometimes it's predetermined, sometimes it depends on the volume of sales, 5%, 6%, 7% depending. And in case of servant, the salary or wages is fixed beforehand. It doesn't vary. So that is there. Now, what is the, like, how can we find out that whether is this contract a contract of agency or not, or how can we find out that a particular person is an agent or not? For this we have to see that what are his acts binding the principal or not. Like, is he answerable? Is he legally allowed to claim from the principal? That we have to see. So this contract can be created by three things. One is the express agreement that we have discussed. Then is the implied agreement, that also some bit we have discussed. Then next is by ratification. Now we are going to see each one in detail. This is simple. Agency by express agreement. It is appointment in writing or by words of mouth. So usual form of a written agreement, and there is a power of attorney. It can be a general power of attorney or a special power of attorney. Normally the agent has got power of attorney in his or her hands, and he can take decisions based on that, and his decisions will be binding. They are irrevocable. They cannot be reversed. Okay, because he is acting as the agent for the principal. Then the next is agency by implied agreement. Due to the conduct of the parties or the course of dealing between the parties or the situation of a particular case, there is no express contract. This is because of the situation in which we are, or because of the relationship which we share. We say it's a contract of implied agreement. Okay. Now, agency by an implied agreement can further be subdivided into three categories. One is agency by estoppel, agency by holding out, and agency by necessity. Now we are going to see each one of these in detail. Now when there is not a written agreement, then what are the conditions in which we can have an implied agreement? It can be because of these three conditions. Let's see that. Prabha, is the problem sorted now? Okay, that's good. So the first is the agency by estoppels. Now what is that? In this case, where a person by his words or conduct has willfully led another to believe that certain set of circumstances or facts exist and the other person has acted on that belief, he is estopped from denying the truth of such statements, although such a state of things did not in fact exist. Okay? So, like, suppose you, one fine day, somebody comes to your house and says that I am the agent from your insurance company. Like, suppose you have taken insurance policy of IFFCO Tokyo. So if you say that person comes and says I am an agent of IFFCO Tokyo, and there are certain things which I need to discuss with you in regard to your policy. And suppose he says that because of the incurring losses which our company is incurring, the company is planning to increase the rate of premium on your existing policy, and it will be applicable only for a period of 3 months, and then you can get double the amount once the policy matures, and XYZ things. Many things he may just tell you. So in that case, if you are like convinced by that conversation, and based on that conversation you make such a certain decision, so in that case, if you later when you find out that it is fraud, it wasn't actually true, in that case you will not have any legal possibilities. You will not be allowed to take any legal action. You will not have any recovery, because you have acted on that person's wordings. So you have believed that he is the agent of a particular principle. So you cannot claim your amount back in such a case. Okay. So this is agency by estoppel, like when with their own influence, with their own personality, a person is able to make you believe that you are his or her agent. Then that is not a contract of, that is a contract of agency. Okay, Nivit. Alright, I'll just explain once again. This is the first of the conditions in which there can be a contract by implied agreement. You understand the meaning of implied agreement? Difference between implied agreement and the other one? Okay. Nivedha, I'll just explain. There are two types of contracts. One is the express and one is the implied. So express is when everything is written in detail, when everything is on paper, it's in black and white form. That is an express contract. An implied contract is when there is nothing written, but because of the circumstances, you like act as if you are in a contract. That is an implied contract. So this agency by estoppel is the first of that type. In this case, there is no legal agreement between the two parties, but because of the circumstances, you are forced to believe that there was a relationship between two of them, and based on that, you took a decision. So in that case, you are bound by that agreement now. Like suppose you take a new policy, and you take a Mediclaim policy, and suppose you take a policy on your vehicle. You get your vehicle insured, and the person who came to you as suppose you had a talk with one person one day, and the next day you get a call from the same office, and you were told that I am a representative of the company and I need to discuss some things with you. And what does that person tell you? He says that now there is this policy which you are about to take. There is a policy similar to that. It has got certain additional features in it, and there is a small increment in the amount of the premium which you will have to pay for the second policy, and the benefits which you are going to get will be double. Like there may be full coverage, insurance coverage, then there may be scrap value clause, there can be clause of theft and fire, anything can be added in that policy. So these things were told to you by that agent, and based on that, on this conversation with your second agent, you get into yes, Prabha, got that also. You take that policy. So in that case, and later on you discover that that person was actually not an agent of the insurance company. He was a fraud. So in that case, you cannot do anything. You cannot claim anything legally from that company. Okay? That company is not answerable or responsible for the loss which you have suffered. You have acted, you have taken your own decision on the basis of your conversation with that second fraud agent. So that is agency by estoppel. Okay? Nivid, is that clear now? Yes, and it cannot always be a fraud. It can be in some case like some other thing as well. It can be in case of a family life. Suppose you are, suppose there is a small child who has met an accident in the school, and they are trying to contact the parents, but they are not able to contact the parents. Then what happens is they suddenly a person comes and says, I am the uncle of this child, and he takes the child back home. So in this case, and he makes you believe that he is the agent by his wordings and all, his conversation. He is the uncle of that child, and you send the child. So in that case, it is again, we can say, a contract of agency. Now, the next is agency by holding out. It is a step ahead of this estoppel. Okay, it is the second type, and it is ahead of that. It has got some additional points in it. Like there should be a positive or affirmative conduct of principle. Either he should say yes or he should say no to something. Affirmative means negative. So he should have either of the responses from the response from the principal is required. Only then we say it is a contract of agency, and we can take legal actions allowed to us by the law. Okay. The next is agency by necessity. Like this one, due to extraordinary circumstances, person may be compelled to act without requiring the consent or authority. Yes, because of the extraordinary circumstances. Sometimes people may be compelled to act or act as the agent without requiring the consent or authority. Like suppose a person is in the hospital. Suppose there is a couple, that couple A is in the hospital and their child is in the school. Okay, the child of the couple A is in the school. Now all of a sudden, yes, emergency like situation, Kelvin. Suppose Mr. and Mrs. A met an accident. They have been hospitalized and they need some blood. Okay. And this child is like not a small child, he's big enough, he's capable of giving the blood, he's more than 15 years of age, I may say. So then again, sometime a person may come, maybe the like one who is the in charge of office, like the accountant of the office. Suppose the accountant of the office, his father's office, come to him in the school and takes the authority from and takes the permission from the authority to take that child to hospital. So in this case, this accountant of the father's office is acting as the agent for his for the father of the child. Okay, because of the extraordinary circumstances, he is requiring to take the child with him, and he is not requiring any consent in this case. Consent from the parents not needed because it's an emergency case. Clear? Is that clear? Okay. What are the conditions? First is there must be real emergency to act on behalf of the principal. Like suppose it's a warehouse, and suppose there is a ship that is into the sea, and all of a sudden the storm is coming. Okay, it's a storm-like situation. So what is the and there is a person who is taking the goods from Mr. X to Mr. Y. He is responsible for the transit, okay, for the safe transit of the goods. And in between there is storm-like situation. Now this Mr. Y, who is the authority to take forward the goods, he is into the sea, into the boat, and when he sees that the situation is worsening, then what does he do? He resorts to jettison. You understand the meaning of jettison? It's a term related to insurance. Jettison. Anyone knows? No? Okay. Jettison is like, it's a term in insurance which we use with reference to marine insurance. It is like, sometimes what happens is to save the goods from further damage. What we do is we get rid of certain portion of the goods. Like suppose if the storm is coming and the ship is about to sink because it is too heavy, then in that case we are holding cotton bales in our ship. So in that case, what will happen? If cotton bales will soak more water, they will become even heavier, and that will make the ship sink further. So in this case, to save our other goods which are there in the ship, what we may do is we may throw off the cotton bales into the water, okay, to save our ship. So that is jettisoning. We are getting like we are throwing some portion of the goods which we are carrying to save our goods further. That is jettisoning. So in this case also, suppose this is a ship in which there are cotton bales and it is going from one place to another. One person is in charge of the transit. Now what does he do to save the, like he is having goods from Mr. X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, everybody into his ship. He is like the agent for them. He is just taking the goods. So in this case, to save his ship further, what he will do, he will throw some portion of Mr. X goods into the water so that the goods of others are saved. So that is jettisoning. Nived, that is jettisoning. Okay. This is a term that is used with reference to marine insurance. Jettisoning. So in this case, the person who has done this, he is acting on behalf of the principal. So that is a case of agency by emergency. Okay, it is actually agency by necessity, a case of emergency. Now, agent not in position to obtain instructions. This may happen with reference to in case of ship, in case of airplanes. Okay, pilots, this thing can happen with pilots and all. So then acting honestly and in the interest of the principal. The act should obviously be in the favor of principal. If it is against him, then the things may go in the wrong way. Then adopting reasonable and practicable course of action. Yes, this is important. Like the example which I gave you of jettisoning, like in that case, if the person just straight away throws the goods into water, that is not acceptable. Firstly, he should do some reasonable. He should resort to some reasonable course of action to save the goods. In case he is not able to do that, then he can resort to this jettisoning. Okay. Like suppose there is fire in the ship. Now, if there is fire in the ship, and again the ship is having variety of goods, there are clothes, there are grains, there is oil, there is then there are some eatables, there are many things in the ship. Then what should the person do? He should first try to blow down the fire by water and fire extinguisher. In case he is not able to do that, then he could throw away the oil and cloths from the ship to save the other goods. Okay, so his action should be reasonable. Is this clause clear to everybody? These two people are answering. What about others? There are so many people, but you all are not answering. Tizu, Kazi, Kelvin, you are not answering. Ajit, Adikoya. You have to say yes or no. Okay? If you haven't followed a particular thing, so when I ask you, you have to say no. Is that fine, Adikoya? Now, there can be some exceptions to this rule, like where the agent exceeds his authority bona fide in an emergency. Yes, he is exceeding his authority. Same example, like he is throwing everything out of the ship just to save his ship, so that his ship may not get sink or it may not catch fire. He's throwing every good into the water. That is not allowed. So that is not acceptable. Then where the carrier of the goods act as a bailee, does anything to protect or preserve the goods. He is the bailee. Bailee is like he is just holding the goods and he will hand it over to the real owner once he reaches him or once he finds him. So in that case, he should take proper steps to protect and preserve the goods. Then where husband improperly leaves his wife without providing proper means for her sustenance. So that is also not a contract of agency. Now, agency by ratification. Ratification means to bring a change to something. So, a person does some acts on behalf of another person without his knowledge or authority. Then another person subsequently accepts the acts. Then this is agency by ratification. also known as ex post facto agency. Agency arising after the event. Okay, so this is agency by ratification. When like some action has been taken, and on behalf of that action we are saying that this person is acting as the agent of Mr. X. So that is agency by ratification. Like the same example, this person, what has he done? He has, now suppose I'll change the example a little bit, I'll modify it. Now the same example, goods are on a ship and there are variety of goods in the ship, they're including some fruits, okay, some fruits, fresh fruits, milk and some non-veg items. So what is going to happen is that what has happened is that the ship was supposed to reach its destination in 10 days. Just a minute. I'll just write it over here so that it becomes clear. What are the things that are there in the ship? It is fruits, milk products, and some vegetables. These are the things which the ship is carrying. The ship was supposed to reach its destination in 10 days. Okay. Now because of the storm, the ship is stuck and it is going to take 14 days expectedly. Now in this case, since there are fruits, milk products and vegetables, they are all perishable goods. They are going to perish in a short span of time. So in this case, what can the person who is looking after them, who is in charge of them, what he can do is he can sell these goods to another person. Okay, he can sell them to Mr. Z, and these goods belong to Mr. X. So he is just a middleman over here. He is just a middleman. So he is selling Mr. X goods to Mr. Z. So in this case, he is now acting as he is now the agent of Mr. X. Whatever sale proceeds he is getting from this sale, he has to return it to Mr. X. Okay, so this is agency by ratification. The event has already occurred. He has already sold these goods because of the storm, because of the fear of their being destroyed. So this agent A, this is A actually, okay. Nived, the agent is selling. Yes, agent is selling these goods to Mr. Z. Mr. Z is a separate person, okay, and these goods belong to Mr. X. So now he is acting as the agent of Mr. X here. The event has occurred and now he is responsible for giving the sale proceeds to Mr. X. If he does not do so, Mr. X can claim from him. This is agency by ratification. After the event, the relationship of agent and principal has been formed. Okay. Now, what are the conditions for valid ratification? The agent must act on behalf of the principal. The principal must be competent to contract and in existence at the time of contract by the agent. Like when the agent is doing that contract, he must be in the authority. The principal must be in existence. He shouldn't be dead or something. Okay. Then there should be an act capable of ratification. Like even here in the same example which I gave you, Mr. X, Mr. Z. So in that case also, what agent should do is he should try and contact Mr. X, the owner of the goods. In case he is not able to establish a contract, he can he should try and act as a rational man. This is what Mr. X should have done. He should have sold the goods to save the money and to avoid the loss. Similarly, the agent should also do the similar thing. then the principal must have full knowledge of the material facts. He should be informed what the agent is thinking about doing and why is it doing that. And whole transaction must be ratified. Then it should be within a reasonable time. And ratification must not injure a third party. Okay. Now there are different types of agents to the contract. First is the general agent. He is appointed for just a particular venture. Okay. He is employed to do all the acts connected with a particular business or employment, like manager of a firm. He is the agent for the purpose of business only. Then special agent, they are employed to do some particular act or represent his principal in some particular transaction, like agent employed to sell a motor car. In the motor car showrooms, we see different agents there. Even they come to people's home these days. This is very common practice now. So they are special agents. Their job is just to sell the car. Then universal agent, whose authority is unlimited. He enjoys extensive powers to transact every kind of business on behalf of the principal. He is the universal agent. Just a minute, I'll have some water. Okay. Now the second part is from the point of view of the nature of work performed by them. First is the mercantile agent. Mercantile means business. So an agent dealing in the buying and selling of the goods is the mercantile agent. So an agent who has the authority either to sell the goods or to consign the goods for the purpose of sale, or to buy the goods or to raise the money on the security of the goods on behalf of his principal. Like we have agents of these kind in the markets. They are all agents. There are share brokers. So those share brokers are like the mercantile agents. They are the agents for their customer. They are helping the customer in opening an account, opening a demat account, and they are conducting transactions on behalf of that customer through that demat account. Okay, so that is a mercantile agent. Now these mercantile agents are further subdivided into different categories. The one is factor. Who is a factor? He is the one who is in possession of the goods given for the purpose of selling the same, and he sells in his own name, has a general lien, and usually sells in his own name. Okay, he is the factor. Like suppose the distributor sells the goods to the wholesalers, then wholesaler sells it to the retailer. So in this case, the wholesaler is acting as the factor. He is selling in his own name. Wholesaler is the face with which the retailer is dealing. Okay. So if anything goes wrong, he is going to go to the wholesaler for the compensation. So he is a factor. Alright. Now who is a broker? He is appointed to negotiate and make contracts for the sale and purchase on behalf of the principal. He is not given the position, not in his own name. Like we have share brokers. So they are not given possession. Why are they not given possession? Because the trading in the share market is done with the help of the demat accounts. Yes, Prabha, very rightly used. They are the middlemen. Okay. Then commission agents, they buy and sell and receive commission. Very simple. Insurance agents. Then there are credit card agents, debit card agents, Even account opening is like for that purpose also the agents are appointed in the bank. As many accounts they are going to open in a particular time span, they are going to get that amount of money as the commission. Now, del creditor agent. Who are these? One who, in consideration of an extra commission, guarantees his principal that the third persons with whom he enters into contract on behalf of the principal shall perform their financial obligations. That is, if the buyer does not pay, he will pay. Okay, they are called del creditor agents. They, apart from doing the normal business, they give an additional guarantee to their principal that in case of any mishappening, in case of any wrongdoing on the part of the buyer, in case the buyer does not pay the amount, then in that case this del creditor agent is going to pay the amount. Okay, although it's rare to find such agents. Then non-mercantile agents, they do not deal in the buying or selling of the goods. Okay, they include insurance agents, counsels, advocates, wife, etc. Okay, they are all non-mercantile agents. They are not dealing in any buying or selling business. They are getting commission for their services. Clear? Is so far clear? Everything? Everyone? Alright. What are the duties of an agent? First is duty to follow the instructions of the principals, duty to carry out the work with care and skill, duty to render accounts to the principal, duty to communicate with principal, duty not to deal on his own account, duty not to make secret profits from agency, duty to pay the amount received for the principal. Means every the normal business practice that is there. So that all becomes the duty of the agent. Okay. Okay. Then duty not to use the information received in the course of agency against the principal. Duty to protect the interests of the principal in case of his death or insanity. Duty not to delegate authority. Okay, Nivid, is that fine? Like there is nothing special. It's just the normal business practice that is there. He's just going to follow that. Is it fine? Now, since he is having duties, he is going to have some rights also. First, right to retain money due from the principal, right to receive remuneration, right of lien. Means the agent has the right to retain goods, papers and other property only particular lien. Like he can keep the things in his own custody. Right to be indemnified against consequences of lawful acts. right to compensation. It's like if there is a legal proceeding in the name of the principal, and the agent is taking forward that. He is attending the sessions in the court, he is paying to the advocates and all, he is incurring certain expenditure on that behalf. So he has the right to be indemnified for the same. Right to compensation. Okay, right to compensation. He has a right to be compensated for everything that he is going to do. That is important. Okay, what is the meaning of lien? It's like holding the goods as a security. Okay, it's like holding something as a security, Nivid. So they have a right of lien. They can hold the goods as a security for the amount of money which is due from their principal. Okay. Then right of stoppage of goods in transit. He has the right to do this thing. So this is a long topic. Mortgage is like when you keep your property with the bank as a security. Are you asking what is mortgage, or you are saying that lien is and mortgage are similar? Okay, were you asking mortgage? Yeah, so mortgage is that only. When you keep, like suppose you keep your house, it is not similar, Nivet, because lien is like it is between two people, and mortgage is normally between bank or a financial institution and a person or a party, and there are like difference between the two. It's not very similar. This is just their right to. Lien is basically security, interest in a particular thing from the point of view of security. Okay, that is lien. Okay. Still many things left. We are on 20. We have done 22 slides, and in all there are 35 slides. So 12 to 13 slides are still left. So we'll just wind it over here. Just a minute, less than a minute left for the class. So thanks for your time, everybody. And it was really good to see some new students in the class today. All of you, please make sure that you are attending every class, and just take good care of yourselves. Thanks for your time. Have a great day tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend. Bye. Good night. And please fill the feedback form which you will be getting at the end. Bye everyone. Good night. Thanks. Take care.